just a nice little shower. And later this week, it may be a good time to go outside. Taft Price talks with our garden expert, Paul James, for 2 News in the Garden.
Good morning, welcome back to In the Garden. Paul and Taft here. And Paul, we've covered some of the pruning tools that we need. Now we're going to get down to business. Now we're going to talk about pruning as we get set for the springtime.
That's right, and this is probably the best example of a tree that this is a crepe myrtle, by the way, okay? One of the most popular trees in this area, and a tree that is pruned improperly all over this town. So you see people, they come in, they just lop it off. It forms these big old swollen nodules and little branches pop out of that. It's ugly. So we're gonna demonstrate how to properly prune a crepe myrtle. Okay. And I got just the guy to show us how to do that. This is my buddy Chase Couch. He's a master pruner in my opinion. He's also my favorite gardener, by the way. So he's gonna show us the proper way to prune a crepe myrtle. So we need to just get out of the way and let Chase have at it. Okay, the first thing he's doing, you notice there's 4 trunks there. Well, 4 is a weird number. Think in terms of 1, 3, 5. It's just more aesthetically pleasing. So he's removed that. Now he's getting rid of some suckers. Suckers are just, they develop at the base, and it's very common for crepe myrtles to sucker at the base. So that's kind of a routine task that you have to keep in mind. Now he's gonna go back and just start removing some wood. And by the way, notice he's using just some handheld pruners so far. Okay. Most of this job can be done with handheld pruners. So now he's limbing up a little bit. He's getting rid of some of this lower growth, which is a good idea. Also, it lets you see those trunks more, and it's easier to mow around and all that. So, you know, if this was a really large tree and had that low growth, it can be a real pain to mow around. What we want to do is open this tree up a little bit, okay? A couple of reasons for doing that, most important of which is it promotes good air circulation. When you don't have good airflow through the tree, then you set the stage for fungal diseases in particular. And crepe myrtles actually are prone to some fungal issues. But the thinning cuts just kind of open it up a little bit. Along the way, he's removing some of these seed capsules. That's an aesthetic call. You don't really have to do it, but they're gonna linger for a long time. So a lot of people like to do that just to sort of tidy it up a bit.
Yeah, and being able to open it up, you're saying also helps with any kind of diseases, but it's the bark, and we've talked about crepe myrtles and how beautiful that bark is. A lot of times that's what it is, not only the health of the plant, but it's also the way this is going to look once it finally starts to bloom out.
Yeah, because I mean, the bark is one of the most striking things of a crepe myrtle, in my opinion. Of course, the flowers are beautiful as well, but the bark is so spectacular. This one is kind of lichen covered, which makes it even all the more interesting to me. It'll take Chase maybe 10, 15 minutes to do a tree of this size. The average homeowner, you're probably looking at closer to 45 minutes because you're going to sit there and stare at it. But kind of trust your own judgment. It's not like you can make really big mistakes.
Okay, Paul, what we see Chase doing here is something you don't see really that much, but it's the right way to do it. A lot of people just cut it off halfway up and just hope that it grows. Obviously, there's a problem with that.
Well, beyond the fact that it's just really ugly, that's a technique that's kind of known as pollarding. And it was done a long time ago to produce firewood quicker, especially kindling, because where you make those cuts, you're going to get a lot of growth. But there's no botanical or horticultural reason to do it. It does not promote flowering. It does not help the tree in any way, shape, or form. My theory is that landscapers started doing it to boost their billable hours, and so other people saw it done at banks and in parking lots and stuff and thought, oh, I guess that's the way it's supposed to be done. It's not the way it's supposed to be done, and it really results, it does a disservice to the beauty of the tree.
Well, and as Chase is doing, as you say, it takes about 10 or 15 minutes to accomplish this, and sometimes I think it was just almost of ease, just to chop it in half, where he's taking a little bit of time, but this is really going to provide some major benefits as we move through the season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it takes an eye. You got to have a general sense of what you're ultimately wanting this to look like when it's all said and done. But, you know, he's been doing this a long time, but homeowners can do this as well. Just, you know, don't get too carried away. Ideally, you don't want to remove more than a third of the overall growth. That can stress the tree a little bit, but in the case of the crepe myrtle, these are such rugged, you know, the term they use when they lop them off is crepe murder. We don't like that term really, because first of all, it's really hard to kill a crepe myrtle. So it doesn't harm them, it just makes them look silly. Now there you have a near perfectly pruned crepe myrtle. Substantially different than what Chase started with, but look at how he's opened it up, and it gives that, it looks like a tree. And as it begins to put on new growth, it's going to look even better. So this is what you're looking for.
So he didn't change the form of the tree whatsoever.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. He basically just kind of gave it a shave, which is something you might want to think about here one of these days.
All right, well, hopefully these tips are going to help you doing your pruning of your trees and your shrubs in the garden.